Well, are you ready to get all of these sewn together, all of our section 2 pieces? Well, then you know what we need to do. Hey everyone, Cristin Sam here, and if you're like me, you are anxious to get all of these blocks sewn together. We did our section 1 completely, and now we will be able to finish section 2. But to be able to sew these together, that means we need to do our filler blocks. Filler blocks are easy now, right? We did them on the section 1, so now we've got section 2 to get these done. So let's quickly just go over what we need for section 2 filler blocks. So I have them all together here. Okay, so we have 4 of them today, and there aren't any that need to be sewn together. Like in section 1, when we had to sew pieces together to be able to make one filler block, these are all separated and they're going to stay that way. So that will make one thing easier. So what I did is I cut each of mine a 1/2 inch larger. I mentioned that in the filler blocks ones for section 1 video. I did cut each of mine a 1/2 inch larger, except for the ones that needed to be sewn together. But I showed you on section 1 that you do not have to have them larger. You can do it either way and it will work totally fine. So same thing on this. So if you already pre-cut your fabrics and you cut them to the size in the book, that's totally fine. It's not a problem. If you did cut yours larger like I did, we have to remember to cut them down before we sew them together. So let's go ahead and talk about number 1. So the first one is this green with floral fabric on it. I did back each of mine with fusible stabilizer, and this first one I cut mine to 3 by 5 for this. And then for our batting, I did the same thing, 3 by 5. You can see it matches up just right. All right, so 3 by 5 on both the fabric and the batting. And then for this one, we are going to do Christmas 8 for the quilting design, and we're going to do it in 2 by 4 horizontal. All right, so that's for number 1. For number 2, it is this really pretty snowflake white fabric with multiple colors of snowflakes, and we're going to start with this one. I did mine again a 1/2 inch larger, so mine is at 5 by 7. If you cut yours to whatever the original probably was, 4.5 by 6.5 is my guess, that's fine, don't worry. So I did mine 5 by 7. I did back it with fusible stabilizer, and then for the batting, same thing. I did 5 by 7 on my batting, and this one we are going to quilt it with lines 6 in a 4 by 6 vertical design. All right, 4 by 6 vertical. So one thing also I want to point out on this one that we did the trees, remember I pointed out in the tutorial that mine is backwards. The stripe is supposed to be over here, the green is supposed to be over here. It's exactly backwards because once I put down the fabric and quilted it, then it's directional, right? This was a directional, the trees. And this one is also going to be trees, so that's why I want to point it out, but it's not going to matter. If you lay your fabric down this way on your hoop and then it needs to go this way in your section, it's not going to matter because of the fabric, okay? It mattered on this one because we sewed these all together, right? So it should have been turned around, and a lot of people caught that on their tutorial, and then some did the same mistake that I did, and that's fine. Doesn't matter. All right, so on this one, it is the white with Christmas stripes on it, and we're going to start with this. If you did it larger, I did mine at 3 by 11. 3 by 11. So the original is probably 2.5 by 10.5. So either one of those will work, but I did mine at 3 by 11, and then I did batting also at 3 by 11. So 3 by 11 for the batting, and I did back my fabric with fusible stabilizer, as I mentioned. I like it. It makes it so that the stitching isn't going to come in at all, and it's not going to pucker or anything like that. So I like to do that. So again, 3 by 11 on the batting, and then on this one, like I mentioned, we're going to do Christmas. Tree one for our quilting design, and we're going to use 2 by 10, and it's the horizontal design. That will be cute. So 2 by 10 horizontal design of tree 1. All right, and that is for number 3. And then we just have one more, and it is the light blue, kind of a minty blue, silky solid, plain. I did back it with fusible stabilizer, and I started mine out at 3x9. So either 2.5 by 8.5 or 3x9, however you did yours, it doesn't matter. Mine is 3x9, and then I did the same with my batting, 3x9 for the batting. And this one, we're going to use Christmas 8 in a 2x8 vertical design. So keep in mind, I mentioned this on the previous filler block video, that the quilting designs, many of them come in horizontal, vertical. Some of them are just whatever, they're all the same, especially the blue designs, because they're just all in one. They can be whatever, and you'll notice that the designs will have where they're just kind of all over. Like, see this? It doesn't matter which way, right? There's no horizontal, vertical. It doesn't matter. It's all in one. Whereas the Christmas trees, those are going to be obviously directional. So just keep in mind when you're looking for your quilting design, when I tell you that we're doing a Christmas 8 in 2x8, make sure to look also for either the vertical or horizontal. And we are going to do the vertical on this. So 2x8 vertical design of Christmas 8. And those are our 4. I am going to bring you over to the computer now and show you how we're going to get them all in one hooping. Obviously that depends on your hoop size. Keep in mind that the largest one is a 2x10 quilting design. So that means that those of you with a 6x10 hoop, you're going to need to take out those steps 3 and 4. I mentioned this in the very first video, that a 10-inch design will not fit in your 10-inch hoop. So you would just easily take out steps 3 and 4. You can do that on embroidery software super easily, or use a larger hoop if you have a larger hoop. But if not, you will want to just take out steps 3 and 4. So anyway, I'm going to show you how to do it in as little hoopings as possible. I'm hoping for 1, but it will depend on how we get there. So let's check it out. Hey everyone, so I am at my computer now, and I wanted to show you how I'm going to try and get all of these blocks together in one hooping, again depending on your hoop size. You can do each of these 4 individually, absolutely no problem, or you can try and merge them together. So I am using Embrilliance Essentials. I'm going to open that up, and I've mentioned it before. If you're in the market for embroidery software, please use my affiliate link. I had someone ask me the other day what I thought of the difference between Sew It Pro and Embrilliance Essentials, and so I just want to point out I'm really loving Embrilliance. I was a little paranoid about it because I thought it was going to be too difficult, and it's absolutely not. It's very, very user-friendly. I like it a lot. And a negative is that I like the eraser tool on Sew It Pro. I used Sew It Pro for a long time before switching over to Embrilliance, and I like both programs. I like both programs a lot. The one thing that I would love, that if Embrilliance would add the eraser tool, I think that would be really, really helpful. I heard that in the next level up, I think it's called Enthusiast, there is a lasso tool. And there's a lasso tool in Sew It Pro also, and I never used it. I liked the eraser tool. So I have not purchased Embrilliance Enthusiast. I think that's what it's called. So I don't know anything about that, but I use Embrilliance Essentials, and I love it. Absolutely love it. It works great. So as far as the eraser tool, it does not have an eraser tool. It has a different function for removing things, and it works great. No problem at all. When we did, there was a jar that we did, I don't recall what it was, and it was cumbersome but I mean, it's going to be that way with an eraser tool as well. But anyway, that's the only negative I have. I think Embrilliance is great, and it is far superior on using fonts, far superior. So, and I've done lots of videos about that, and using all the different functions with BX fonts. So anyway, let's get started with what we need today. I haven't done this yet. Sometimes I will come in and play around with the things to get an idea of how I'm going to do them, and I have not done that, so we'll do it together. I'm going to go ahead and open an 8x12 hoop for now. I might need larger, and if so, I'll switch. But let's just see. Like I said, I haven't already checked these. So I'm going to go here to my preferences folder. Before I do that, I'll close that and show you that down here it shows you what hoop you're on. I'm on my 5x7 hoop. That was the last hoop I used. So I'm going to go to preferences, and I'm going to find my 8x12 hoop. Right there, click on that, say okay, and then I like to go up here to this compass and I hit the H button for hoop, and it just makes it so that I can see my whole hoop. And you can always zoom in and see every last little detail if you want. You can zoom out, but I really like this H button, so I do that most often. All right, so I generally bring in the largest one first, and for this, it's going to be the 2x10. There's a 2x10, that's the third one that we talked about. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in that quilting design. So I'm going to go here to this merge stitch file, and I'm going to look for my quilting. So let's close up some things. I find it easier if I have most things closed. Right there, cup of cheer quilting. So when you close things, it just makes it so that you can see where you're at, because it's just asking you, what file do you want me to open? Where is it? And so here we go. So tree 1 is the biggest one. Tree 1, right there. I'm going to open this little plus sign, and then embroidery files, and then Pez. I have a little bit of a cold, so excuse me if I need to drink some water and hopefully not cough your ear off. All right, so we are looking for the 2x10 in horizontal. There's the vertical right there, and there's a horizontal. Oh, I was hoping it was going to look like that. That's super cute. I like that. Honestly, I would prefer it to be on a fabric that has nothing on it so that we could really see it. It's going to be on a busy fabric. It's going to be on this one. So we're not going to see a whole lot of it, but I think that quilting design is so darn cute. And my dog wants to go out from this room. All right, so double click on that. It goes to the center. So this tells me I will almost definitely need a bigger hoop. I think I will go ahead and change. Let's do my 10x10 for now. So I'm going to go to preferences and then go to my 10x10 hoop. There it is. So this is one that I added in. I showed on several videos how to add in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the stitching and then move it over. If you just click in an open area, it won't work. And then I'm going to click again to make sure I'm centered. Doesn't actually matter, but so now that I think about it, 10x10 should not work. It looks like it does, though. That's interesting. I'm going to go ahead and leave it for now. We'll change it as needed. All right, so that's the 2x10. Must be because it's a 10.5 by 10.5 hoop. Yeah, 10 by 11, 10 and 11/16. Hold on. Sorry about that. I had to let my dog out. Okay, 2x10, and then so there's two that are Christmas 8, and generally I would like to put those together, but they're using different thread colors. So I'm not going to put them together because it doesn't matter. We'll have to change the thread anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the next white one because there are two white ones. This one is supposed to be done in white. You can obviously use whatever thread color you want, but I'm going to go ahead and bring in the line 6. So go here to merge stitch file and close up this tree 1, and there's line 6, embroidery files, Pez. All right, and then this one we're looking for 4x6 in vertical. There we go, double click on that. All right, I'm just gonna, so you don't need too much room between them, the two, especially if you didn't cut your fabrics a little bigger. You don't need any room between. Your fabric will fit right between the basting stitch, not basting stitch, the tack down stitch. So it is actually a basting stitch, sorry. Anyway, your fabric will fit right between here, so that's not going to matter. All right, then the next biggest one is the 2x8. These two are supposed to be white. That's why I put them together, and you can do it however you want to do it. But I'm going to go ahead and merge in the next one. Close this one out. And we're looking for Christmas 8. Right there. Embroidery Files Pez. All right, and we want 2x8 in vertical. Oh, cute. Right there, the snowflakes. So this will be really cute. This is stockings, and it will be on the plain fabric, so we'll be able to see that really well. That will be nice. I like that idea. All right, so I'm going to double click on that and then click on the stitching and move it out of the way. All right, now this very likely will not all fit, and I'm going to have to change hoop, but I'm just going to keep going along and see how we go. All right, and then the last one is a 2x4. Might fit, let's see. Christmas 8 also. So we're going to have to make sure to change the thread color so that, because we want a break to be able to change the thread color, and since they're together, it will join them. So we have to make sure to watch for that. All right, so I'm going to go to merge stitch file, and it's again Christmas 8 in Pez, and we're looking for a 2x4 horizontal. Right there. That's cute. And that's the first one. So that will be on this fabric. All right, so on this one, no, I was thinking it could be turned, which actually we could turn it. I think I'll do that. I'm going to rotate it because it looks like I'll be able to use this hoop. I didn't think I'd be able to. So if you have an 8x12 hoop, I think you would need to do 2 hoopings because this is, you can see we're taking up the whole hoop in a 10x10. If you have a 9x14, very likely would fit fine. Let's see, think about it. I should probably do it that way too. Anyway, I'm going to rotate this. So that's the undo. Here's the rotate right here. And I'm just rotating it so that it'll all fit in my 10x10 hoop. All right, so that works. I think I'll move this centered a bit more. All right, so that works really well. I'm going to do a file save as, because I will very likely use this hoop, but let's just see. File, save, stitch file as, and desktop. I have my files on my desktop. I have these files, I should say, on my desktop. Cup of Chair Quilt. I'm going to put it in my quilting files. Cup of Cheer, and then filler blocks. I made that folder last time, so I'm going to just name it Section 2 Filler. And then I'm going to put 10x10 because I think I'm going to show you another way just in case you have a 9x14 hoop. Let's see what we can fit that way. So I'm going to go to File, New Page, and then I'm going to change to, like I said, I think an 8x12 you would very likely need to do 2 hoopings. I'm going to try a 9x14 for those of you that have a Dream Machine or whatever hoop, whatever machine uses a 9x14. And then I'm clicking that H button so I can see my whole hoop. All right, and then I'm going to just quickly bring in these designs. Oh, I didn't change them around. We need to group that other one. Sorry about that. I will go back to that. All right, so once we have these 4 designs all in our hoop, like I said, I'm using my 10x10 at the moment, we are going to want to group them, all right, and see what we can group. So if we were to just click what is it called? color sort. If we were to color sort right now, it's going to join all of these default one blues together, and that would make it so that it takes away your third and fourth step. It would make it so that your placement and tack down and placement and tack down of batting and main fabric are all together, and we don't want that. All of the placements would be together and all of the tack downs would be together, and we don't want that at all. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly change these colors. You can leave the first two because we only need to change them so that the next ones don't do it. So remember, this first one is the placement of our batting. The second one is the tack down of our batting. This third one is placement of our main fabric, which is what would join with here, and we don't want that to happen. And then here we have the tack down of the main fabric and then the quilting design. So that's the 5 steps on every single one of these. So I'm just going to change the third one and the fourth one of each of these, and then we'll look at the quilting designs and see which of those need to be grouped. All right, so, or make sure some don't group so that we have time to change the thread color. So on this third one, I'm on the first one. You can see here, if I click on this, it shows you the entire design in all 5 steps. So this third one of that first design is the placement of the main fabric. So I'm just going to change the color on that so it doesn't group with this default one. All right, so the first one here, I'm just going to click on the thread color and change it to dark aqua and say okay. And then this orange, same thing, it would join with this if we don't change the color. So I'm going to change the color to the first one is Blaze. And the colors can be different on yours. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what color you choose. You're just wanting it to be different, something different. All right, and then for the turquoise, I'm going to go ahead and leave that for just right now and just go through the third and fourth on each of these. So here's that second one. So I'm going to click on this third part of the second design and change the color to the same as we used before, so it will join with that, which was dark aqua. And then same thing on the orange. I'm going to change it to Blaze. That's what we used up here, and we want it to join. So I'm clicking to Blaze. All right, and then same thing. Here's the third design that we're on. And I have to click outside of here to be able to click on the number. I'll show you why. If I were on here and I click on this, it's just thinking that you want to change the name of it, and that's not what we want. We want to actually click on it. All right, and so click on the color, change it to the same as before. Dark aqua is what we used on all these others. You can see it here. And then the fourth one, change it to Blaze or whatever color you used previously. All right, and then the last one, this is our last one down here, which remember I rotated. It's not a directional fabric, so it doesn't matter. All right, and then I'm going to click on the third step, which is right here, of the fourth design. You can see this is number 4 and it's 4-3. So instead of default blue, we're going to change it to dark aqua, and same thing on the fourth one. Click on it and change it to Blaze. All right, so now all of those are together and they will be grouped together, but the turquoise, the quilting design, will also group at this point. And so that's why I wanted to come back to this and notice. So on this first one, actually this is the third one, sorry, because it's the 2x10, but we've brought it in first, so it's the first design that we'll stitch, but I always bring in the biggest ones just to get room for all the others. So on this one, it's going to be white. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this one and keep the next one so that they will join, because these are both white. So we want those to join. And then on the next one after that, here, we want time to be able to change the thread colors. So if we kept it the same, see how they're all the default 17 turquoise. If we kept it, then it's just going to run right into the next. It's going to start stitching it, and it will not give you a stop, a break to be able to change the thread color. So all we're going to do is click on it and change the thread color so that it doesn't join. So I'm going to click on this, excuse me, and I'm going to click on Sprout or whatever color, it doesn't matter. All right, and then same thing with the last one. Oops, sorry, zoomed out. So on this last one, same thing. We're on default 17 turquoise, but we want to be able to change the color. So we're just putting in a break. So let me just make sure we're at the line 6 and the tree 1. Those both we want white. This one we want different. So I'm going to go ahead and just change it from anything we've used before. So now we're at sea green and say OK. So you'll see that we should have all of the parts that we want together and the parts that we don't want together should not be. So let's go ahead and just check it. So right now we have 20 thread colors. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Utility Color Sort. And it changed it by 13 color changes. So I'm going to click New View. I think it's really important to always click New View to see just what changed and make sure it's correct. All right, and it went to a 9x14 hoop, and you can see that that's so funny. I don't know why it did that. Probably because I started a second one. But all right, so we would just change the hoop. But you can see right here, it thinks we're on a 9x14 hoop, and it's saying that the 10x10 will not fit. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Preferences and change it to my 10x10 hoop. Say OK, and then we fit. So you can see it's a little bit more than 10.5, and our design is 10.5. So it's tight, but it works. So let's see what changes it made. So the default one, blue, that is all of our placement stitches for the batting. So that's grouped perfectly. And then 2 is all the tack down of the batting. 3 is the placement of our main fabric. They're all together. And the 4th is our our tack down basting stitch of our main fabric. So those are all perfect. All right, and then let's see if it did the, yay. All right, so this was what I was saying is the tree 1 and the line 6, I wanted those grouped together because I'm going to do them both in white. So that's perfect. Those are grouped together, and yet the other 2 are not grouped. So that worked out exactly how I wanted it to, so that's perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and do a file save as, save stitch file as, and I'm going to click on that section 2 filler, and it will save over that because I forgot to group them. So just a second later, and we grouped it, and now we're going to save over that original one. Do I want to replace it? Yes, I do. All right, so that one's done and perfect. I'm very happy with that. My machine's not on, or I would send it to my machine. So I started to say that for those that have a 9x14 hoop, I'm going to show you, I'm going to give it a try and see, because I think more people have a 9x14 hoop than those that have a 10x10. So I'm just going to show you how to do that too. It won't be difficult. All right, now one thing to mention is once these are all grouped, we're here, sorry. Once these are all grouped, so it's all one thing now. You cannot move parts of it. You can't do anything like that. They're all grouped together, all right? So this is our those that have a 9x14. So we're going to just bring in each of those again. So I'm going to go to Merge Stitch File, and I'm going to bring in the biggest one first, which was that tree 1. So I'm going to close this one. There's tree 1. Embroidery files, Pez, and we're looking for a 2x10 in horizontal. It's probably up there actually, 2x10 horizontal. All right, and then just click on it and move it out of the way. You could even, none of these are directional, so you could actually take that and, no, because it's too big, forget that. All right, so there's one. I'm going to bring it up here actually. All right, and then the next one is, the next largest is the 4x6, and this is the one that is the same thread color, so it's good to do second for this. So I'm going to look for a 4x6 in lines 6. Quilting bundle, closed it by mistake. All right, line 6, embroidery files, Pez, and we're looking for a 4x6 in vertical. 4x6 vertical. All right. So there really isn't enough room for that 2x8, unless we can fit it here, which we probably can. Let's go ahead and try that. So that's the first and the second one. I'm going to go ahead and move these away from each other. There's not enough room to utilize this space anyway. So I'm going to just move this over here. All right, and then the next largest one is that 2x8 merge stitch file. And we're looking for Christmas 8. And 2x8 in vertical. Okay. So on this one, I think if we turn it, it should fit. Let's just check. So I've got it highlighted. You have to make sure and have all the parts of it. So this number 3 here, I have all the parts, and I'm going to just click this rotate button, and then I'm going to bring it down at the bottom. And this should work really well. All right, I think. Let's see. All right, then the last one is a 2x4, so that should fit fine. Let's just see. So the 2x4 is Christmas 8. We're in Christmas 8 now, and we're looking for 2x4 and horizontal. All right. So again, on this one, I'm going to rotate it just to make room. I'm going to hit this rotate 90 degrees here, and look at that. This actually even fits better than it did in the 10x10, so I think I'm actually going to use this one just because I made my fabrics, I made my fabrics a little bit larger, and so this gives me more room, more space. So here's the other one, the 10x10 I did. You can see that my fabrics will overlap just a tiny bit. This one will be less stressful. Not that, sorry, here. All right, so I think I'll use this one actually, now that I think about it. So what we need to do next is to group them like we did for the others. So we'll do a color sort, but before we do that, we want to make sure to change the thread color so that parts that we don't want to join will not join. And to do that, I just open up all these pluses, and it makes it so that you can see all the steps in that. I could do them one by one, it doesn't matter, either way. And then I'm using my mouse button to scroll up to the top. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the first and the second one like I did on the other, and I'm going to go ahead on the third one, and I'm going to just change the color. Click on a color, and I'm changing it to the first one I see, which is dark aqua. All right, and then on the default orange, I'm going to change it to blaze. All right, so that's very easy. I'm going to leave this turquoise for now, and I'm going to move on to the second one. So this was the first design. Now we're on to number 2 here, and we're going to go to the third step of number 2, which is right here. And I'm going to change the color just like before to dark aqua. You can see the color we used here, and now we're on this one. So now number 4, same thing. Here's the blaze. So I know I want to use blaze so that I want them to group together. All right, and then I'm going to leave that default 17 turquoise because I want those two to join, because those I'm using white on both of them. All right, so now we are on number 3. If I click on number 3 here, you can see it, it's down at the bottom, and we want to work on the third step. So I click outside of it to be able to click on it and change the color to dark aqua. Say okay, and then this default orange, same thing, change the color to blaze because those are the colors we used before. And then I don't want my my quilting design to join with either of these because I want a different thread color. I want time to be able to change that thread color. So I'm going to go ahead and change this one away from the turquoise because otherwise it will join with these and I won't have time to change my thread color. So if I click on this and just change the color to something we haven't used before, I'm going to change it to Sprout and say okay. All right, and then we're on the last one. If I click here, you can see where it is. This is the last design. And I'm going to go just like before on the third step here, I'm going to change this. This is the placement stitch for the main fabric. And I'm going to change it just like before to this dark aqua. And say okay. And then this default 2 orange, just like before we used blaze, I'm going to do that again. Blaze. All right, and then this thread color, again, I don't want this to join, and so I'm going to just change the color. It's so easy to do. We already used Sprout right here, and I don't want it to be the same, otherwise those will join and I won't have time to change my thread color. So I'm going to use the next color, which is sea green, and say okay. All right, so this should all work perfectly. Let's check it. We currently have 20 color steps. I'm going to go to Utility Color Sort, and we've reduced by 13. I'm going to click New View, and then what did it do? I changed to a 6 by, oh, it changed to my 10 by 10 hoop. I'm going to just change that. You can see how it turned red? I've had people ask me, like they get it to their machine and it doesn't fit. If it's not going to fit in the hoop that you've chosen, it will turn red here. All right, and so we can easily just change our hoop. It changed to a 10 by 10, but we're using a 9 by 14 on this, so it's very easy to make that change. Here's my 9 by 14. Say okay, and boom, now we're okay. Everything fits. So I'm going to hit that hoop button, that H, so that I can see it all, and then I'm going to open this. Now everything is grouped together. I can't make changes, but that's why I did a new view so that I can see what changes that it made. It's right here. I'm going to move this here so I remember. So this is the 10 by 10 we did, and with all the different steps, this is the 10 by 10 once they're all joined. Here is the 9 by 14 before we joined everything, and then this tab is the 9 by 14 with everything joined. So I'm going to go ahead and just check it. So that is the placement stitch for the batting, and they're all joined. That's perfect. The placements, or the tack down stitch for the batting, is all joined and perfect. The third step, this, you can see the 3 here. This is the third step is the placement for the main fabric. And then the fourth is the tack down or the basting stitch for the main fabric. So those all worked out perfectly. And then I wanted these first two to be joined. It is both the tree design and the line 6 because I'm going to use white thread for both of these. So I wanted them joined. I don't need a stop in between. But for both of these, I wanted a stop so that I could see what color I want to change it to. I wanted a moment to be able to change the thread. So those all worked out exactly perfectly. So I'm going to go to File, Save, Stitch File As, and it opens up that folder I was in before, and I'm going to say Section 2 Filler 9 by 14. All right, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to use my 9 by 14. I'm glad that I tried both options. 10 by 10 absolutely does work. You can see it here. There's just not as much room between, and since I did make my fabrics a little bigger than these, it will overlap. And so this is just less stress to have a little bit more room. So this will work better for me. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can do whatever you want. If you have an 8 by 12 hoop, then you would need to do it in 2 hoopings. If you have a 6 by 10 hoop, same thing, I think you'd be able to fit them into 2 hoopings. That would work fine, and you saw how to do it, so that's very doable. If you have a 5 by 7 hoop, you are going to need to double hoop these to quilt them, and that's been a common occurrence with a 5 by 7 hoop, so that would not be a problem. You would do like on that 2 by 10. Let's see what there is. I'll do a File, New Page. You would probably do a 2 by 6 and a 2 by 4. Yeah, to get a 2 by 10, you would, and I'll just give you a really quick visual here. Let's go ahead and change hoop size to 5 by 7. Okay, and then hoop to be able to zoom in on it. All right, and then if you were to bring in that first one, the largest one is the 2 by 10, and it's in tree 1. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you what that would look like. So here's tree 1, embroidery files. I use Pez for my machine, and I'm looking for a 2 by 6 in tree 1. And then we're doing a horizontal. So I double click on that. As I mentioned in that very first video, you would want to take out the additional steps because it will it will be on top of it. You wouldn't have to on the first one, but it's easier to give you a visual if I just take these out. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on these steps and delete. All right, so that you can see just the quilting design. So here, in fact, I'm going to change it to a 6x10 hoop just so that you can have the visual, even though you're doing 2 hooping. So hoop. All right, so there's that one. That is your first hooping. It would be a 2x6, and then we would bring in a 2x4 for the second part to fill up the 2x10 design. So we're already on tree 1, 2x4, right there. All right, and I'm going to delete these all the placement stitches just so that you can visualize it. All right, and then click on the stitching or click over here. You saw I clicked on that. That works too. And then just move it. And you want it as close as you can get it to the other one. So an easy way to do that. Let's see if I bring this one down. So I'm just using my guides here. See those little black squares? All right, and just right above that center line. And then this one, same thing. I'm going to use those guides to line it to the center. All right, so that's what it would look like if you do a double hooping. There's a 2x6 and a 2x4, and it would look very, very, very similar, if not the same, as long as you're getting it close together. And I showed on the very first video how to rehoop. There's a specific video for those using a 5x7 hoop. So that would work extremely well, totally no problem. So any of the ones that are larger than your hoop, you could double hoop and it would work fine. So hopefully this has shown everyone with all the different hoops how to make it work. And like I said, you can absolutely do there's 4 different designs, 4 different filler blocks, and you could do them in 4 hoopings. If you're using 5x7, like I showed you, would have to double hoop the larger ones. But anyway, so now we're ready for some playtime. Remember when I said the reason of why I do the filler blocks after each section, or why I'm not going by the book and I'm doing it by section? I was very reminded of why that is today. I find it so boring to sew all the blocks together. So we only did section 2 today. If we were doing the whole thing, I think I'd go insane. But it's done. So we have section 1 and section 2 complete and sewn together, and now it's huge. And it's so exciting because now it's looking like a quilt. Pretty fun, fun, fun.